So today we've got a booth full of bare metal. This is all 74 Buick stuff, most of it anyway. There's a couple pieces down there that are actually for the interior of the GTX. But most of the stuff is 74 Buick, and we've prepped them. We've got, yesterday we started stripping these. We got everything prepped, everything's in here. So we're gonna wipe everything down with acetone, and then we're gonna do Dplv black epoxy. We're gonna give that probably overnight. It's getting towards the end of the day here, so we're probably gonna wait till tomorrow morning, and we're gonna put 2050 on top of the LV. So we're gonna do Dplv 90 first, and then we're gonna put 2050 over top of that. And the reason we do that is the Dplv has better rust encapsulation, better rust inhibitors, better adhesion to bare metal than 2050. 2050 is a DTM primer. You can use it over bare metal. In my opinion, it's just better to use Dplv first and then 2050. We put the Dplv down for our adhesion and our metal protection, and then we put the 2050 over that for our build primer. Yesterday we started stripping these, and if any of you guys watched that video, we went over how we strip these and how we prep these for epoxy. So now everything's ready for epoxy, everything's been stripped. We generally start with blasting the back sides of everything, and then we strip the front sides, being that we're not doing a metal prep system on these panels because they're very nice, really no rust on this entire car. So when we start wiping these panels, a lot of people will use wax and grease remover on the bare metal. It's not necessarily the best idea. Some of the wax and grease removers can actually leave a film on your bare metal. So we just use straight acetone, this super aggressive cleaner, thinner, solvent, whatever you want to call it. But as you can see, this bare metal looks pretty clean right now. And once I wipe this with some acetone, even just a few wipes, you can see how black that is already. And it takes a few tries to get this metal actually clean. Basically, we're gonna keep wiping it, keep flipping our rag, replacing our rags until we wipe it, so you can still see my handprint a little bit. We're gonna keep wiping until nothing comes off these panels. So right now, being that we wipe this all down with the blue rags, this metal is very coarse right now. All these 80-foot scratches are shredding that rag because we're wiping this. And if I just come in and prime this, it's going to look filthy dirty. So I'm going to tack it off with a moisture primer just to make sure that I get all those little bits of rag and any dust that's settled on it off, and then we'll go to DP90. I'm using an AccuSpray with a 1/4 tip for this DP90, so I'm going to start in the front and work my way to the back, or however you want. I'm going to start towards the exhaust. I'm going to start back here because if I start on the other end, by the time I get here, there's going to be a lot of overspray on these panels, and it's going to be basically dry by the time I get up here, and it's going to look like gravel if I go over that. So I want my overspray to lay into my wet panels. So there we are, we've got Dplv epoxy down on our bare metal. Now we're gonna give this at least 6 hours. Depends how late I stay tonight if we're going to finish spraying this tonight or in the morning. So I'm gonna give it at least 6 hours, possibly overnight. We're gonna come in and we're gonna spray 2050 only on the beauty side of our panels. We're not gonna do it all in the jams and all that. There's really no need to put a build primer, you know, on the back side of the deck lid, at the back side of the fenders and things like that. we want to build primer on top of this so that when we start doing filler work, we don't burn through the bare metal basically immediately. And when we use the Dplv 90 below the 2050 like this, you see the black rings before you hit the bare metal. You'll see black primer, then you'll hit bare metal. So it's kind of a warning. And like on the Chevelle, we use DP50 LV gray epoxy, and then we went to black CRE. Same process, just which color do you want to start the car out being during body work. So on this one, we're going to use 2050. I've got a lot of 2050 here, so we're going to use the DP90, and then we're going to use up that 2050, because 2050 and CRE are virtually the same product. They're very extremely similar. Really the only difference is one of the chemicals they use for the activator, but doing shrink tests and using the products, they are nearly identical. I am fine using either product. So now it's been about 6.5 hours or so, and we are going to come in with a red Scotch-Brite, and we're just gonna lightly scuff these panels up. We don't need to get crazy, we just need to put a little scuff in them. The DP90 LV has a recoat window of up to 7 days, but anything after a few hours, I always like to just scuff it just to be on the safe side, especially when we're putting primer on top of primer and all that. Just a good idea to just give her a nice little scuff, and then we'll tack it off. We'll get some 2050 on it. So now I've got my panels lightly scuffed. I'm gonna come in and tack everything off good, and then we're gonna fire the booth up, get some 2050 on this. So we're gonna do 2 coats of 2050 over this out of a 1/8 with the AccuSpray. Got 2 coats of 2050 on top of our LV on our beauty side of our panels that we're going to be blocking and doing panel to panel on. So now we're going to go onto the car, start stripping things on the car, get it in here, do the same process, and then we'll bolt it all together and start blocking for days. This car's like 24 feet long, so be lots of blocking on this thing.